Hello, and a lovely day to you lovely people of the internet. I hope that you will enjoy what's to come. And what's to come is an interactive writing live stream. Now, a few millions of you might now think, wait, what have I gotten myself into? What's going on here? And for you, I shall explain. And the larger crowd who's here every week, you can just sit back, relax, maybe prepare a nice, refreshing beverage like I have here with my tea. Very refreshing. And while I explain the rest to the others, to the new people. This is the interactive writing stream. This little part of it is where I am, and this slightly bigger part of it where I'm covering the text because the navigation bar is open. Sorry about that. Now you can see, well, not all the text, but all the text that is on my screen, at least. That's the text we're writing together. And below this video, if you're watching it on YouTube, there is an information box and there's a link to the whole story, and there's also a link to a Discord where you can participate. We turned off the YouTube chat because it is annoying. And well, the Discord chat slightly less so. And because of that, I welcome everyone who's now in there, and I also welcome everyone who's watching just to see my lovely and beautiful and kind of smart, don't you think? Face. I got a little IQ raise. Never forget that IQ is a null concept and quite heavily to be avoided. So please be so kind as to sit down, watch this with me, and help me, for dear heaven's sake, get out of this corner I've written myself into. It's horrible. We have our Magi, and they are trying to improve, to make a better world, as are we all. And we have decided to take one of them to a care facility. So now they have before them the task of telling the people who live there and the people who care for them how to do that right. Well, doesn't everyone dream of that? And for one thing, I have considered maybe writing, even write an idea that takes us away from that again. Maybe try to have, what's their name? Sam. Maybe try to have Sam discover that this is difficult, take a step back, maybe after doing a few things, and then going back to somewhere else with Munira, and maybe deepen their training a bit, because that's part of the story we're trying to write, because Munira has become some sort of apprentice. Now I realize this idea might not be quite finished, but we can keep it in the backs of our heads, maybe. For example, in case we run into a wall with this. For now, for this dialogue, for immediately now, I have a few ideas, but I will also be grateful to everyone who feels they can contribute. And also, now you might be wondering now, well, that guy seems like a really experienced, talented, smart, kind of good looking, and just all around great writer, maybe the best there's ever been. And you might not be wrong about that. But if you're taking this to mean, well, why didn't he just avoid this situation and write something that's not difficult to get out of? I thought this might be a teachable moment, because this is part of the writing process. You try things, maybe you get a bit overconfident, you find out they don't work, and then you have to try something else. You have to try to deal with that failure. You have to accept that you took a wrong turn, and you have to decide whether to go all the way back and start again and try to just get rid of everything you did wrong and start again. Or maybe you can just not throw away all of it and salvage it, and kind of maybe if you just rewrite here, no wait, now this doesn't fit anymore, I need to also rewrite this, wait, I think this maybe, oh no, wait, if I write it like this, then the start doesn't make sense, so I need, and then I also have to, well, the plot is not what I can't do the end I wanted to do, so now maybe if I put in this middle thing, so I can maybe if I add a few more characters to, or if the villain, instead of being the villain, maybe turns out to, you know what I mean? As in life, it can be difficult, and I wanted to show that to you and to contribute to a culture of accepting mistakes and just going on. And I have a saying which I invented, which is my intellectual property about this, and I think it's quite pretty, so I wanted to share it with you. You probably never heard it because it's mine exclusively, and it goes, we don't make mistakes, we just have happy accidents. And if any one of you ever repeats this, I will sue you, because this is my saying. So let's have a happy accident and write a bit of stuff and things and story or something. So to recapitulate and refresh not just our throats with this very refreshing tea. I like it. You should try it too. I think it will make you 20% cooler, especially in summer. Although probably, well, in the long run, drinking liquid now and again will probably make you warmer, on average. Because if you don't, your body temperature will, after a few days, start to, what's the right word? Approach room temperature, or the temperature of your surroundings. And that will, for now, and for quite a while, probably remain slightly cooler than your usual body temperature while you're still drinking tea, which is highly recommended. Sorry, I think I was going to write something. So here we go. To refresh our memory, whenever I say that, I have to think of the lovely tea that I have here. I shall read the last few words, and I already found a mistake. How did that happen? Happy accident, sorry. So here we go. Where do we start? Maybe like this. We already have an advisory board made up of our residents. Gabler responded with equal parts tired annoyance and smug satisfaction. I didn't read that correctly, sorry. Then I guess we have to make sure not to talk to those people, Sam said. They are the representatives our residents have voted for, so I'll say it's kind of disrespectful to dismiss them like this. Now, it was Gabler's turn again for subtle gratification. Well, they are the representatives that got you and your residents into the situation you are in now, and they have an interest in defending it because they feel responsible for it, so I'll allow myself a dash of disrespect if you don't mind. I do. Sam laughed and winked at her. I walked right into that one, didn't I? I'd love not having to point this out, Munira said, but she does have a point, doesn't she? If we want to talk to the residents, who better to represent them than the people they elected? Sam turned to her with a smile so smug she almost wanted to get up and walk over to Gabler's side of the room. Who says I want to talk to representatives? Only listening to elected people is what got you where you are, isn't it? Well, not listening to them is what got you where you are. And I wrote a note, and you can even see it. It's right below. It's kind of where my I guess my belly would be, or maybe a tad lower. But let's not talk about that. And It says, this is not it yet at all, and it does not relate to any part of my body, but to that sentence there, because I didn't quite like it. But I've thought about this since we had our last stream, and I've come to the conclusion that what I wrote is actually pretty good. So I'll keep it for now. Yeah, if you feel like changing it, let me know, because this live stream is an interactive writing live stream, and it shall now, after only 10 minutes, turn into an actual writing live stream, because I shall start to write now. And I think I shall have Sam respond with... Oh, is that true? Where am I? Pray tell. That's kind of a thing, you know. I try to, well, for one, you might have noticed, I like this sort of thing. And of course, I have the slight disadvantage of not having English as my first language. You probably didn't notice because I speak it perfectly. But if you listen really, really, really well, you can hear small, almost vanishing small trace of a German accent. And that's my first language. And now, these little things, it's hard for me to tell how they sound, because my feeling of the English language is, of course, less developed than that of someone who has it as a first language. That's for one thing. Also, I kind of add these little things to make Sam sound a bit less like a modern person. You might remember we have not established yet in our text what exactly the Magi are. But I think we have sown enough hints that we can take it as written. I think we have firmly established that they are not just people who were born a few decades ago. They are old. They are also weird, and their relationship to time seems a bit different than ours and all that. And also, let's be frank here, I couldn't do it. So I won't try to write them in a realistic way, like someone might act and talk who was actually born, I don't know, 50,000 years ago and has lived anything between 2,000 and 800 million years since then. I don't know, as I said, their relationship to time is a bit... What do the cool kids say, you know, timey-wimey, that all kind of thing and all that. So I'm not trying to do that. But I'll sprinkle these little clues in that are not quite today's language. And if you think it's bad, let me know, because that's what we have an interactive writing stream here. And if you think it's cool, I might not be able to deal with that, so don't mention it. Always a bit weird to get compliments, don't you think? Where am I? Pray tell. Yeah, right. And now it's always a bit of a thing, you know. This is a conversation between them and Munira, and Ruth Gabler is just sitting there, although it's her office and she probably has a bit of an opinion about this. But for obvious reasons, I want Munira to be a part of this, and to be an important part. And now we have to strike a balance between having Munira act reasonably, believably, for the sake of a written story at least, that has certain fantastic elements, like a 13-year-old person might act, but also I want her to shine, if you know what I mean. And usually 13-year-old people are a bit shy in the company of powerful grown-ups for good reasons, because they've learned if they aren't, they get punished in one way or another. So Munira's behavior might in some situations seem a bit disturbingly precocious and respectless towards that older person who is in a position of societal power, like Ruth Gabler, for one thing, but also towards that, I don't know, godlike being, which obviously has some sort of supernatural powers. And you might think, well, it doesn't even matter if I'm 13 or 33. I wouldn't want to make that being angry. But then again, on the other hand, for one thing, there are very disrespectful young people, and I love them. The most obvious example is one I don't even have to mention, I think, but there are a lot of others. But if you think this is going too far, as always, let me know. Enter the chat. Come on in. Pay $50 a week. I'm sure you can afford it. It's for a good thing, good cause, good. I will use it wisely. To make a better world, kind of. It's for a better world. And shouldn't that be worth that small amount? If you compare it to other things you could spend your money on, like rent, I mean, really? Does your landlord really need more money? I don't think he does. Don't give it to him. Or whatever pronouns they use. Give it to me. For a better world. Need your money. Where am I, pray tell? Sitting in the office of a professional, what do you say, a care facility manager trying to explain their job to them, to her in this case, I guess, without the first clue about how to manage a care facility. Do we want a question mark? Do we want a full stop? Do we want an exclamation? We don't want an exclamation mark. Do we want? I think I'll go with a question mark. I love those. What? 1, 2, 3, 4. In 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sentences. That's only slightly more than half. I think that's fine. Oh, and I also forgot to type the clue. There's no clue in that sentence. So here we go. Munira doesn't have a clue either, apparently. Oh, but I'm not trying to explain anything. I'm trying to redistribute or maybe let's say recalibrate the power dynamics. And you don't think it would still be helpful to first understand what you're trying to recalibrate? Don't worry, I know what I'm recalibrating. Has anyone seen Mike Hammer? I don't think you have. You're all far too young and inexperienced. Trust me, it was great. That's precisely what I'm going for. Gobbler just sat there and watched them like a tennis match. Always a bit awkward, this kind of phrasing, because that's a similarity in German and English language. The grammar itself doesn't tell us whether Woodgabler is watching them like she was a tennis match or like they were a tennis match. So you have to take that from context, and of course you can. In this case, it's quite easy, but it can still make for an imperfect reading flow, because you stop and think about the sentence, and the structure might feel a bit irritating because of that. Or maybe you smile and consider this funny because of the possible double entendre. And that might not be good for the story, so we have to keep an eye on these kind of things. For now, I'm gonna leave it, though, I think, and watch them like a tennis match. Her face giving no indication of how much exactly she regretted allowing them into her office. I could just say that her face was neutral or something like that, but I think this is more enjoyable. And now we have to we can maybe save or what's the good way to phrase this? We can smuggle. No, that's not a good word either. We can cheat our way out of writing maybe a page or two in this font size by just adding unimportant banter. But sooner or later we're going to have to get back to the plot. So Sam will have to back up their claim of being able to find a good way to do this. And I guess and this is, on the one hand, it's not really a problem. What Sam is implying is clearly they are going to get all of the inhabitants' opinion, in a way. And while this is probably the best way to do it, especially if you're able to do it with reasonable amount of effort because you have magical powers, I'm afraid it might not be fun to write or read, because, well, we have a few ways to do it, if we want to do it at all. And I think there's only one reasonable way. And I'm not sure if it will work. So let me explain this. Sam, and this is not the only possible way, but I think it might be in a way the best, and also, as I said, Sam has kind of implied that's what they're going for, will talk to, maybe some sort of mind-to-mind communication or something, all of the inhabitants. So we can just skip this, like Sam puts a hand to their forehead for a second and then lowers that hand and goes, okay, I'm done. That's one way to do it. And let's say it has one thing going for it. It's pretty direct, and it saves us, the writers, a lot of work, because it relieves us from the necessity of actually writing the point of view of the people living in this care facility and Sam's dialogue with them and all that. But for that exact reason also, I think it's not a very good choice. The other extreme alternative is we write them all, which might be several hundred people. Might also just be 80 or something like that. Smaller care facilities have only a few tens of inhabitants, and some only have 10 or 20. So that then it would even start to be theoretically feasible, but it still wouldn't be reasonable because nobody wants to read 20 longish, unpleasant, not because of the people, but because the topics won't be pleasant. You know, it's not like it's a fun read usually, I think. Although maybe we can make it one. Anyway, nobody wants to read 20 dialogues with people who show up only once in the story and are no characters and they have no emotional involvement in. That's too much. It's too long. It's not a good balance plot-wise. So we can, of course, pick out a few examples, like have Sam do 2 or 3, and then make a cut, and then the story goes on by Sam saying, all right, that was all of them. That was nice. You have really nice inhabitants. I like all of them, except for Björn. Björn was a bit of an ass, but I guess he still deserves some rights and improvements. So let's see. I don't know, something like that. And this might be one way to do it. We can also have them sort of walk through the facility, but I don't think I want that. Because it feels, I don't know, doesn't feel like a promising route to take. Also, we could try to find a way to have Sam do what they said they do, because if Sam had a way of just giving power to the inhabitants, they wouldn't actually have to do the polling, you know? Sam could just give them the power to make their own decisions about stuff and to push through their own wishes or something like that. I can imagine several ways, but they might all be a bit too complicating. Because for one example, Sam could just give everyone in this facility some sort of magical power. But that would leave us with one hell of a plot implication, because if the Magi can do that, then where do they do it? When do they not do it? What do the people who get the powers do with them? Do they all stay in that facility, or do some fly away to the moon, or what exactly? And why doesn't Sam just do it for Munira? Because apparently Munira has to learn that stuff in a long and arduous process, and if Sam can just snap their finger and give people magical powers, then Munira would not be unjustified in asking, what about me?
But natural immunity.
Yeah, right. It's, of course, it feels better if you earn it, I guess. That's right. You get a better feeling for an elder. Yeah, no. It's definitely more satisfying if you learn magic on your own instead of just having it bestowed upon you. But still, I don't think we should do that. What we could do, but then we're with representatives again. Sam could leave somebody there in charge or something. Oh, that doesn't work either. Yeah, so we're still at the same problem we had all the time. And that was one reason why I thought it might even make sense, because it gives us more time to develop our characters, our plot, our ideas, to take a step back and have Sam maybe admit that they don't know how to deal with this situation perfectly. They can try before, they can talk to the inhabitants still, and then maybe take a step back and try another approach. Possible. Or, as I mentioned, we could, of course, do the same ourselves. We could decide that maybe we did write ourselves into a corner here, and we have to write something else, and we just have to throw this out, which is already, that part which is already there. In the care facility, everything, all the parts we like and the parts we dislike, they all have to go, and we start something new. That's also a possibility. And I might have made a poll for that, but from what I gathered today, our participants are all a bit limited in their ways they are able to contribute. So I won't make a poll, I'll just go on and think about it for a few moments. And while I do that, I will get a new cup of tea, because this one is empty. Or I am right now performing a very impressive magical trick. Ta-da! Now it's really empty. I'll get a new one. We'll be back. So here we go. Another way to do this. We've kind of seen that right at the beginning, and we've seen that in the attitude the Magi take. And that might be the most promising and interesting option I see from here right now. Might be for Sam to do something that won't quite work, but still makes their point. You know, like with the right in the beginning, Sam stopped that deportation, and they took Munira with them as an apprentice. So Munira is kind of safe, I guess. But otherwise, Sam didn't solve any problem really. They just showed up and made a point. And the point was basically, look, I'm even more powerful than you. And that's it. That nobody was convinced of anything. Nothing really improved those police officers. They will just wake up and report to their superiors, and then the apparatus will try to deport the same people again, and it will all go on. Now the plan is not to subtly make little changes and influence society as a whole to stop that. The plan is more like, well, as Sam more or less said, show up and make that point, and then see what happens. And that's also a way in which this situation here is less obvious and less clear than the other one. But that's also what makes it more interesting. So that's why we chose it in the first place, I guess. Not like we just went into this and hoped for the best. There were reasons, and I think those reasons weren't that bad. Now we just have to see how exactly to implement this. Maybe for one thing, of course, that influences the situation in such care facilities is, of course, money. And money is something that's quite easy to remedy if you're a magical being like Sam. So that could be one way to do it, but it doesn't feel satisfying, I guess. Maybe I should take a few steps back and re-explain what I was going for. Sam might do something flashy that doesn't actually influence or improve the people's, the inhabitants' situation, but still make the point. Maybe they'll have to argue a bit about it with Munira, and then go on. And we will do that a few times, and maybe Munira will learn stuff from Sam, but maybe Sam will also learn stuff from Munira and from the experiences they have together. So we have kind of what do you call that thing where your characters develop? And there's that concept in literature. I think what is it? What is it? I can't quite remember. But that we might try that thing. I've heard it's good. People like it. So we should try that. So resources are one thing, but also power dynamics are one thing. So what to do? Maybe I'll try. Well, for one thing, we have 24 minutes left. For one thing, I propose let's do this. We shall try to finish today's session by just going on with this conversation here. Maybe even, I'm not quite sure yet, have some talk to 1 or 3 inhabitants, and I will, and maybe you will too, try to think of the more fundamental structural plot problem and questions, and show up to the next session with a bit more of a plan, because I usually don't plan too much in advance. For one thing, it's my style of writing, and for another thing, it's even part of the system of these interactive streams, because I think it's not a lot of fun to have an interactive writing stream where I have already planned ahead everything I'm going to write. Because that makes me less able to follow your input. Because if I already have a plan and know what I'm going to do, even if I am in principle willing to change that, the psychological effect would be clearly that it would be harder for me, because it would feel like, well, I already have all these great ideas. If I try this thing that the chat just asked me for, then that will all have been for nothing. And I had that funny reveal in Act 3, and that won't even make sense anymore if I try this. So I have to stop the chat from giving me ideas, because I can't implement them anyway. So I try to avoid that, and it's not just my natural tendency to avoid work, but it's also kind of part of the concept of this live stream. But for the next live stream, let's do that. But also, I'll just have Sam and Munira kind of talk about and develop the same idea I just explained to you, and then we can think about how that works and what follows from that. And next time, we will have a plan or something that resembles one if you squint and the lighting is a bit bad, which, as it happens, this is kind of normal for my live stream. So there you go. Allowing them to our office, right? Well, go ahead. Maybe that's Rutgabler, because it also hurts our suspension of disbelief that a person like Rutgabler would just sit there and not say anything. She said, "I'd love for you to start understanding a few basics here." Why not? Sam said with a shrug. What was Sam drinking? Did Sam? No, Sam refused the coffee. That was it, right? Come to think of it, I would like a beverage. That's kind of that's always the thing. Now we're standing in front of a completely different question, and I kind of like that because it's a comparatively easy question, and I can still get 10 minutes monologue out of it. Sam might want a beverage. Tea. The last time they had to choose one, they ordered tea. So they might want that again. They can ask Rutgabler for one, and Rutgabler shall provide. They can sort of snap their fingers and immediately have a cup of tea, which is a subtle, for certain values of subtle demonstration of magical powers, but also I don't want to do that too much. This kind of feels like have Rutgabler bring them one situation, but I would like to have something unusual in there. But still, I think I'm going to have them ask Rutgabler for it, but not the stuff you call coffee. Do you have any kind of tea available here? Sure. Wood said, looking at her watch and sighing. We have black tea. I think it doesn't matter one bit, but I'm trying. Darjeeling is the one I was thinking of. We have chamomile. What's the other thing? Does that even exist in English? It's quite common in Germany. It's those red berries. They grow on hedges, and they have these little seed thingies inside them. You can make jam from them, but also tea. Yeah, right. What I'm gonna try to translate. I think it's kind of on the tip of my tongue situation, which is nice because I like the taste. But no, I was completely wrong. Apparently, they are called the same in English. No, they are not. I typed wrong. They are called rose hips. Rose hip or dog rose.
Dog rose, yeah.
Is that a thing? Doesn't matter because we're in Berlin, but now I want to know. Is there rose hip tea? Does that exist? Well, there is an article about 8 surprising health benefits of rosehip tea on healthline.com, of course. But it doesn't seem to be a thing, really, because, for example, I don't find a lot of... Well, there is one. It's a Turkish rosehip tea. And then there's German stuff, like Mesmer milde Hagebutte. So what It does exist, but it doesn't seem like, because in Germany it's a thing. Like you can't go to a kindergarten or to I think
I don't know if today.
Yeah, right. It might be a thing of the past. But when I was a wee lad, you couldn't go to any public facility without seeing a big pot of rosehip tea. I think that's what you'd get in the hospital if you didn't ask for anything special. And everywhere, every sort of what do you call those where children go for school trips or something. These facilities where they live, they all have those big pots of just rosehip tea standing around somewhere. And if you were lucky it's original, and if you were unlucky, they have some sort of sugar replacement that gives it a very strongly, unpleasantly sweet taste. That was disgusting, I tell you. But it's quite nice if you don't have that. It's just the pure rose hip. I like that. Always like that. I prefer it cold. But yeah, let's have her of a rose hip. And of course they need to have some sort of rooibos. I guess I'm just gonna say rooibos. Whatever. Maybe a rooibos vanilla, so it feels a bit more extra. Oh, I haven't had rose hip in ages, quite literally. Would you bring me one of those? Gladly. Would sad her face, implying, showing, displaying. Quite openly that this was a lie. And I thought we can also use this to have Munira and Sam talk among themselves while Ruth is gone. Yeah, but how? Openly. There's 2 letters missing. After she'd left the room, Sam turned to Munira and asked, and said, how do you, that's quirky enough to be interesting, so let's do that. How do you feel about money? Munira blinked at them. I'm not sure I understand the question. She keeps thinking about it. And I've skimmed your journalistic, is that a word? I think that's a word. Takes on the issue, and they mostly seem to agree that more money is needed. To pay for the people who do the work, the medication, the facilities themselves. What's the good word? Medical supplies. But kind of, let's maybe just say medical supplies instead of medication, because that can. Again, can medical supplies encompass medication, or would you say that's completely different? Because just from a literal interpretation, medical supplies are supplies with a medical function. So that would include medication. But is that how the word is used? I'm gonna Google this now. Medical supplies. Medical detectives is next. Your Online-Shop, Ärztebedarf, Praxis, Bärhager. That's nice. Solutions for patient warming. I kind of like that wording and all that. Okay, yeah, the bear hug. I like that. I like the bear hug. But still, medical supplies. What is the meaning of medical supplies? Oh, that's a good question. Items that are sold to be used for curative process. It seems to be more. I guess it means everything except the medication. In English, it's similar to German Medizinprodukte, maybe like that. Yeah. So I guess we can't do that. Maybe let's say medical supplies and medication, facilities themselves, better food, activities, you know, the whole bunch. And it makes sense to me, because that's how your society works. So one thing could be giving them money, but it feels unsatisfactory. Unsatisfying? Is that a word? I guess it's a word. Do you believe it would help? So you can admit ignorance and ask for help, just not as long as someone else is in the room with us. Munira asked. Sam clapped their hands and smiled. And you. I made a good choice with you. You felt right. No, I just think she already thinks about money sufficiently. I didn't want her opinion on it. Munira shrugged. It would probably help, I guess. Sam crossed their legs, put one elbow on one knee, and what's the word for that? Prop, maybe? Support? No, I think prop is the best, right? Yeah, prop up, and propped their chin on the palm of that hand. Does that work? Does that sentence work? I think it works enough for you to know what I'm going for, but does it actually work or does it feel weird? I can't show you because I'm standing here, you know. I'm not sitting, so I can't really demonstrate. But I think you can imagine the pose I'm going for. Yeah. Thing is, I don't want to help as such. Well, ask Munira. Ah. See. The point is not doing your work for you or giving you enough resources so you don't have to do the work anymore. Why not? Asked Munira. I already forgot again, but there are no commas in English speech, right? The commas are wrong. No comma, right? No comma. I think there's no comma. I'm not going to look it up because we have only 3 minutes left. And that might not be enough to finish this story, even if I don't look it up. Because Sam pressed the lips together in a I need to look up another word. Maybe like the disgruntled huff. And wrinkled their nose. Maybe like this is better. Together and wrinkled their nose in a disgruntled huff. If we were to do that for 10 billion of you, what else would we ever get to? Also, I have a nagging suspicion that you'd still find ways to bungle it all up. Not nagging. I mean, look where you are, resource-wise, compared to just a few historical moments ago. Did it help much? It did, Munira said. When did you look at our life expectancy? Did you last? All right, and I think that's it for today. And now I almost regret that Ruth will soon be back with the tea. because I want to know where this discussion is going. Well, we'll be able to think about that. Well, think. What are you going to try to do to me? Yeah, think. Huh? Yeah, until next time. Because this is what this interactive writing stream is most importantly about to do. It is supposed to make you think. And with that, I shall leave you for today. Thank you. You have been a marvelous audience. You have been wonderful as always. And you will be even more wonderful if you push some of those wonderful buttons, you know? Share this video. Give it a like if you like. Push the subscribe button to subscribe to my channel. Don't push it again if you have already pushed it, because it will make you unsubscribe. It's a weird button like that. And tell other people how nice this is. And most importantly, have a nice weekend. Enjoy your time. Improve the world. And whenever you see some sort of injustice, someone perpetrating violence against those less powerful than they are, ask them for tea while you think about what to do. Bye.